Welcome to Data Popcorn, the Spring 2026 edition. My name is John Miner. I'm a senior data architect and a 10-time MVP award winner from Microsoft. Today, I'd like to talk about materializing data with the data build tool, known as DBT. This video depends upon the prior video, which was talking about how to use DBT to seed tables. We're going to be using the library schema. It has books, loans, and members. This is the OLTP version of the schema. We're going to make an OLAP version for analytic processing. Agenda. Things that you can materialize are tables, views, incremental tables, ephemeral tables. Ephemeral tables are placeholders. Materialized views. Platforms such as Snowflake support them. The SQL Server adapter does not support them. And last but not least, we're going to talk about snapshots, which are slowly changing dimensions type 2. Let's get into the demo. Okay. The very first step when you open up DBT, okay, is to make sure you have a profile. And profiles basically tells you the server name, the database, the schema, the username, and the password. The project file. The project file tells you how everything's put together. So we know this is the library project. We're going to use the profile to connect the following defined paths. For instance, the model path. We're going to go over seeds today and snapshots. The seed section basically says take that base root data and append raw to it. Okay. Anything that we define in seeds will be raw data underscore raw dot table name. Snapshots. Similar, but it's going to be data underscore snapshot. And we can also tell it whether or not it's a column store index. Okay. And we don't want a column store index. Models. Okay. Well, in the model section, we're going to say anything in stage is a view and anything in mart is a table. And yes, we're going to accept column store indexing. Okay. So the very first step is to connect DBT, right? Debug. While that's running, we're going to go into seeds and take a look. We have books. We added a date for a date dimension for the final model, loans and members. Okay. So if we do DBT seed, we're going to get those tables. Okay. After this runs, we're going to talk about snapshots. So right now it loaded these four tables. Again, it's going to take data, pen raw, and it's going to use the name of the file. So it's book001 is a table. Okay. If we go into the snapshot directory, we can see there's a members03. What does this mean? Well, I'm using SQL syntax here, and it says this is snapshot for members. It's based upon select star from member 0, which we created from the seeding. And what we're doing is there's two ways to do it. We can either do by date or check. And if we do a check, we need a unique key, which is member ID. And we're going to say anything in these columns change, then guess what? We want to change it and make end date the current record and create a new one. Okay. So let's do a snapshot. DBT snapshot, right? And take a look. There wasn't anything in our database. We hit refresh. We have the four tables that we have: books, dates, loans, and members, and now we have a new table. The slowly changing dimension table. We can see there's new artifacts or columns added to it. We get a slowly changing dimension ID. We have when it was updated, valid from, and a valid to. So it's currently valid. Let's make a change. Let's say it's not active, expired. The person came back today. Okay, so we just updated it. This is not going to change the data right now because we haven't run the process. If we run the snapshot again, it's going to end date the current record and add a new record. That's how snapshots work. So if we take another look at the final value, we can see that the expired was end dated today. Okay, and we started a new date and it's active. Okay, let's talk about the other types of objects we can deploy. And again, it's all about the types of objects that we can materialize. We're going to go to the models, and in models, we can have subdirectories. Okay. And in the subdirectory stage, which again, this goes back to our DBT project stage, it's going to be anything in here as a view unless we override it. We can override it at the file level. So this one we said, hey, guess what? Materialize a table as books, dates. we want to create a incremental table. Now it's a special table, okay? And it says, hey, if we have any new date being added to dates 1, that if the ID is greater than this, which is 02, that means it's new entries because the ID is unique and anything is appended to the date table, then we're going to add it, okay? Dates 3 is that ephemeral table. Basically, we're doing a select statement and saying, here's some sample data. I haven't had a chance to build out this table yet, but I want you to take a look at it. Members table. The members table is going to be a view. So we're trying all the different types I went over. And last but not least is the row counts. And we know this is a materialized view and they're not supported. So this is going to error out, okay? But again, it's a great example. Now there's two ways to do it. We can run a single one, dbt, right? And then run and do dash dash select and then a particular file. We're just going to run everything. So we do S and then we're going to do stage. And at this point, it's going to try to build everything. If we take a refresh of the tables, we can see that now we have snapshot, we have books, dates. Date 03 didn't show up because it's not materialized. Ephemeral tables only can be used in the next layer of the model. It's there. So if we look at date 02 and show the existing data, we can see that it goes all the way up, and I'm doing this descending, top 5 rows, goes all the way up to the end of this year. Okay. So we want to add a new record. Okay. Well, we can see that that's the target. This is the source. And okay, it's not there yet. We're going to add one row for 2027. Okay. And now if we go here, it's there. And the only difference is instead of loading, truncating, loading the whole table, it's going to use that where command with the ID to bring it in, right? So if we go here, we see that it hasn't been populated yet because we haven't run the command. We go back and we go into our terminal window and we want to run a single command, dbt, run. Instead of run this whole stage, and this is the reason why file names are very, very important. They have to be unique because they're nodes in a DAG. And from the directed acyclic graph, we can run a specific stage or a file marked, right? So we want to run, right, date 02, right? We hit enter. And lo and below, it should be bringing the incremental. And again, behind the scenes, you can look at the log, but it brought in the one table into 02. Excellent. The last layer is to build out the reporting layer, okay? And that's our mart, our data mart. So books is from books, dates is from dates, nothing big yet. Members. Well, members has an ID, join date. We want to convert that to a date ID, right? Because we're using a date dimension. So we need to left join it and then bring an ID. The fact gets even a little more complicated because we not only have to transform borrow date, due date, and return date. So again, to run them all, dbt, run, right? Dash dash, or at dash, and then we're going to run mart, okay? And mart is going to run 1, 2, 3, 4 tables, and that's our final data mart. So basically, this is how you use dbt to do data modeling, okay? So you right click, refresh. Now the power of dbt is adaptive, right? You can just point it to somewhere else and suddenly build the whole thing, right? And it's really cool. So we can see this is all keyed up. It's a fact table. Awesome. So how can we demonstrate that power? Well, here's two quick statements. Drop all user-defined tables, drop all user-defined views. So if I execute this, it clears out the database. We hit right click and hit refresh. And it uses the DAG to rebuild everything. So there's a dbt build command, okay? And the dbt build command just rebuilds everything. So dbt build, we hit enter. And suddenly it's going to run through a bunch of tables because we cleaned them all out. So we're now seeding data. And we can see that 12 different tables we created, including snapshots and so on. And this would be what you'd do run daily. You'd run it and suddenly it would build your database or refresh it, right? Thank you for attending the short video. Please see my upcoming articles on SQL Server Central for more information. Again, my name is John Miner. You can reach me at john@craftydba.com. Thank you and have a nice day.